All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening here lesson with us. Let's lighten things up a little bit and turn on these lights. Okay, so as you know, we had a great congress and we're going to continue from the Shamati articles, and we've got Shamati number 16, carrying on with what is the day of the Lord and the night of the Lord. If you have any queries, questions, shoot them through as usual. We'll try to find answers together in the text. Okay, our sages said about the verse, vow unto you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you need the day of the Lord? It's darkness and not light. There's an allegory about a rooster and a bat that were awaiting the light. The rooster said to the bat, I'm waiting for the light, since the light is mine. But you, why do you need its light? The interpretation is that since the bat has no eyes to see, what does it gain from the sunlight? On the contrary, to one who has no eyes, sunlight only makes it darker. We must understand the allegory, meaning how the eyes are connected to looking in the light of the Creator, which the text names the day of the Lord. They gave an allegory in that regard about a bat, that one who has no eyes remains in the dark. We must also understand what is the day of the Lord, what is the night of the Lord, and what is the difference between them. We discern the day of people by the sunrise, but with the day of the Lord, in what do we discern it? The answer is, as the appearance of the sun. In other words, when the sun shines on the ground, we call it day. When the sun does not shine, it's called darkness. It's the same with the Creator. Our day is called revelation, and darkness is called concealment of the face. This means that when there is revelation of the face, when it is as clear as day for a person, this is called a day. It is as our sages said about the verse, the murderer rises at daytime to kill the poor and indigent, and in the night he is as a thief. Since he said, and in the night he is as a thief, it follows that light is day. He says there that if the matter is as clear to you as light that comes over the souls, he's a murderer, and it's possible to save him in his soul. 2. Thus we see that in the matter of day, the Gemara says that it is a matter as clear as day. It follows that the day of the Lord will mean that the guidance by which the Creator leads the world will be clear, will be clearly in the form of good and doing good. For example, when one prays, his prayer is immediately answered, and he receives what he has prayed for, and one succeeds wherever one turns. This is called the day of the Lord. Conversely, darkness, which is night, will mean concealment of the face. This brings one doubts in the guidance of good and doing good and foreign thoughts. In other words, the concealment of the guidance brings one all these foreign views and thoughts. This is called night and darkness, meaning that one experiences a state where he feels that the world has turned dark on him. Now we can interpret what it's written. Woe unto you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you need the day of the Lord? It's darkness and not light. The thing is that those who await the day of the Lord, it means that they are waiting to be imparted faith above reason. That faith will be so strong as if they see with their eyes, with certainty that it is so, that the Creator watches over the world in a manner of good and doing good. In other words, they do not want to see how the Creator leads the world as the good who does good. Since seeing is contradictory to faith. In other words, faith is precisely where it is against reason. And when one does what is against one's reason, this is called faith above reason. This means that they believe that the guidance of the Creator over the creatures is in a manner of good and doing good. While they do not see it with absolute certainty, they do not say to the Creator, we want to see the quality of good and doing good as seeing within reason. Rather, they want it to remain in them as faith above reason. But they ask of the Creator to give them such strength that this faith will be so strong, as if they see it within reason, that there will be no difference between faith and knowledge in the mind. This is what those who want to adhere to the Creator, refer to as the day of the Lord. In other words, if they feel it as knowledge, the light of the Creator, called the upper abundance, will go to the vessels of reception, called the vessels of separation. They do not want this, since it will go to the will to receive, which is the opposite of holiness, which is against the will to receive for one's own sake. Instead, they want to adhere to the Creator, and this can be only through equivalence of form. However, to achieve this, meaning in order for one to have a desire and craving to adhere to the Creator, since one is born with the nature of a will to receive only for one's own benefit, how is it possible to achieve something that is completely against nature? For this reason, one must make great efforts until he acquires a second nature, which is the desire to bestow. When one is imparted the desire to bestow, he is qualified to receive the upper abundance and not blemish, since all the flaws come only through the will to receive for oneself. That is, even when doing something in order to bestow, deep inside there is a thought that he will receive something for this act of bestowal that he is now performing. In a word, man is unable to do anything if he does not receive something in return for the act. In other words, he must enjoy, and any pleasure that one receives for one's own benefit, that pleasure must cause him separation from the life of lives because of the separation. This stops one from adhering to the Creator, since adhesion is measured by the equivalence of form. It is thus impossible to have pure bestowal without a mixture of reception from one's own powers. Therefore, for one to have the powers of bestowal, we need a second nature. So one will have the strength to achieve equivalence of form. In other words, the Creator is the giver and does not receive anything, for he lacks nothing, meaning that what he gives is also not because of a lack, but if he has no one to give to, he feels it as a lack. Rather, we must perceive this as a game. That is, It is not that when he wants to give, it is something that he needs. Instead, is all like a game. It's as our sages said regarding the queen. She asked, what does the Creator do after he has created the world? The answer was, he sits and plays with a whale. As it is written, this whale you have created to play with. The matter of the whale refers to the liquid and connection. This means that the purpose, which is the connection of the Creator with the creatures, is only a game. It's not a matter of a desire and a need. The difference between a game and a desire is that everything that comes in the desire is a necessity. If one does not obtain one's desire, he is deficient. But with games, even if one does not obtain the thing, it is not considered a lack. As they say, it is not so bad that I did not get what I planned because it is not so important. This is so because the desire he had for it was only a game and not serious. It follows that the whole purpose is for one's work to be entirely in bestowal, and he will not have any desire or craving to receive pleasure for his work. This is a high degree, as it is what happens in the Creator. And this is called the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is called wholeness. As it's written, let the stars of morning be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. For light is considered wholeness. When one acquires the second nature, the desire to bestow that the Creator gives him after the first nature, the will to receive, now he receives the will to receive, now he receives the desire to bestow, and then one is qualified to serve the Creator in completeness. This is considered the day of the Lord. Thus, one who has not been rewarded with the second nature to be able to serve the Creator in the manner of bestowal, and waits to be rewarded with this, meaning with bestowal, meaning he has already exerted and did what he could do to obtain that force, he is considered to be waiting for the day of the Lord, to have equivalence of form with the Creator. When the day of the Lord comes, he is elated. He is happy that he has emerged from the control of the will to receive for himself, which separated him from the Creator. Now he clings to the Creator and considers it as having risen to the top. It is the opposite for one whose work is only in self-reception. He is happy as long as he thinks that he will receive some reward from his work. When he sees that the will to receive will not receive any reward for his work, he becomes sad and idle. Sometimes he comes to doubt the beginning and says, I did not swear on this. Thus, moreover, the day of the Lord is attaining the power to bestow. If one were to be told, this will be your profit from engaging in Torah and mitzvot, he would say, I consider it darkness and not light, since this knowledge brings one to darkness. All right, any questions? Is there anything? Do I need to know? What? Emre is asking, what does purification and spirituality to mean? Second question, why would someone do something they know they will regret? Okay. What else? Devran's asking, what kind of differences in the direction of the flavor will be bestowed? What kind of differences in the direction? I don't understand that question. Devran, rewrite your question. So what does purification and spirituality mean? I have a desire to receive pleasure for myself. If I continue to exercise my desire to receive pleasure for myself, it's called darkness, and it is called being, I don't know, no, that's sinning. All right, so I know I need to change, but I don't change, or I don't work to change. I understand I'm egoistic and I want to stay that way. That is called a sin. So how can I reverse my egoistic nature and turn it into purification? It means I have to bestow with my desire to receive, right? That's the only thing we need to change. This is why in the article, what does it say? It says, why is it dark? It's dark for a person when they have done everything they can to attain the power to bestow, but still didn't get it yet. Okay. But they are in anticipation of the light. That's the rooster he's talking about here. Okay. So he gives us an allegory. Okay. Where is the rooster? Yeah. So there's the rooster and the bat, right? So we want to be like a rooster. Okay. Why? Because we want to attain the attribute of bestowal. We want to get the light in order to bestow. So in order to have light and clarity and bestowal, we have to have vessels of bestowal. And until we get vessels of bestowal, we're still in the dark. And we work from within that darkness. So working within that darkness means that I'm going above reason all the time, meaning that despite the fact that I may not want to do the work, I go above reason. I go against my nature and keep pushing forward. That's becoming a rooster. All right. So do we understand what darkness is now for a rooster? Okay. So what about darkness for a bat? Darkness for a bat is someone who's doing, I don't know, some kind of spiritual work, call it Torah and mitzvah, doesn't matter. And he wants to get some reward from that work. Okay. So he wants his will to receive to be fulfilled. So if I'm studying with anticipation of getting rewarded in my vessels of reception, then that means I am in a state of darkness as a bat. Okay? And we don't want to be in that state as a bat. All right? Why? Because actually, look, what is bestowal to our desire to receive? It's like death, isn't it? It's completely against our nature. We don't want to really bestow. It says it in the last paragraph as well. Okay? If I knew about it in the beginning, I'd probably not start studying in the first place. So the important thing to understand here is that in the work, if I'm still not in spirituality, meaning if I am still not with vessels of bestowal, darkness can be for me as a rooster or as a bat, and we have to aspire to be in rooster mode. Okay? So that purification is only going to happen when a person receives the power of bestowal, the vessels of bestowal, as it writes down there in the later part of the article. And once we have the vessels of bestowal, then it's all clear, it says in the article, right? It's daylight and it's all clear. What does it mean, daylight? It says everything is crystal clear. Why? Because we're in bestowal mode. Why would someone do something they know they will regret? Well, we're humans. We're crazy. So we do that kind of stuff. We do it because we're a desire to receive pleasure. And who can withstand great pleasures? Nobody. So we go ahead, do something stupid to get pleasure from something for, I don't know, for a few minutes even. And then think, oh my God, why did I do that? Now that is going to be a big mess. Yes, happens. So we have to learn how to anticipate things. All right. Smay is asking, should a person wait for the light to come or should they try to draw the light? Well, you better try to draw the light because the only light you're going to get if you wait is going to be a slap. Okay? So we have to work. This is why why is the rooster waiting for the light? It's working for it. Okay? It's working for it as it says in the paragraph. Let's read that again. Look. Let's see how we should do things. Okay. Look what it says. Woe unto you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you need the day of the Lord? It's darkness and no light. This is for the bat. Okay. The thing is that those who await the day of the Lord means that they're waiting to be imparted faith above reason. Okay. That faith will be so strong as if they see with their eyes with certainty that it is so that the Creator watches over the world in a matter of good, doing good. So we have to be imparted faith above reason, but it's something we have to desire. If you don't want it, you won't get it. So the whole work is to want to be imparted faith above reason. Devran's asking, does the place where one bestows change in our perception? Does the place where one bestows become more beautiful? Well, it is definitely a change in perception, and it definitely is a beautiful place. So hopefully you'll get to see it one day. If we are neither able to receive nor to bestow, if we're in such a state, what is it that we should do? Well, you should sit and study so that you know how to receive in order to bestow. We can't do things without studying. See, we're reading an article here. It's a deep article. It's talking about a person on the path. And this rooster and bat, they're in the same person. Okay? I can't be just the rooster or just the bat. If I'm studying the wisdom of Kabbalah in a group, I'm going to be going back and forth between these phases, okay? We want to be in rooster mode. We want to be in bestowal. We want to be in faith above reason, but we're going through ups and downs. So the rooster and the bat is a person who still hasn't attained spirituality, but is going through those states. And sooner or later, as we study more and more, we'll come to stabilize ourselves. Then it'll be like, I just want to bestow and go faith above reason, and that's it. Okay? But they're both important. They're both important inside a person because it allows you to clarify what you really want. So, if we are neither able to receive or to bestow, you have to carry on and you have to do your best so you can want to bestow. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously. This is a study that might take us 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Okay? It's not going to be a walk in the park either. Just like your lives aren't a walk in the park. Okay, look at us, how long it takes us to grow up into something reasonable. At least 30 years. And that's on a corporeal level. Imagine going for something higher and bigger and huge. So we have to work on ourselves. We have to really put some backbone into it. Sarah is asking, in the phrase, this means that where the face is revealed, when it becomes as clear as day to a person, it is called a day. Does as clear as they refer to the state of the revelation of the Creator to a person who is in spirituality? Absolutely. Absolutely. Where you completely understand that the Creator is bestowing, He is good and does good. Everything is crystal clear. Okay. That requires you to have vessels of bestowal as well. You can't know if the Creator is bestowing and He is revealed unless you have vessels of bestowal. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. So we have to understand that until we get vessels of bestowal, we've got no light. Sap is asking, if being in a state of expecting a reward is considered egoistic, then isn't the desire to unite with the Creator also a kind of reward? Yeah, it is a kind of reward. What's the difference between the two? Well, one of them is egoistic, the other one isn't. Where's Sap? Let's think about it. What's spirituality? Okay. Spirituality is love of others and bestow. Okay. So, and what is our current nature? Our current nature is I love me and I love to receive from me. So if I want to bestow and reach adhesion with the Creator, the article is saying, look, you need to be above your desire to receive for yourself, and you need to be in vessels of bestowal. Let's describe this state to ourselves. If you were told, look, Sarpil, you're not going to get anything. And all you're going to do is just give and do really, really nice things to everybody else, but you're not going to get anything. And that's your reward. What do you think? Does that sound like a fair deal? That's the fair deal. So yeah, reward is that. Okay, so now imagine to yourself if you want that reward or not. You understand the difference? Yeah, that's the difference. Patricia is asking, is Malchut the whale? Oh, yes. The big desire to receive. That's Malchut. Correct. All right. This is a nice little article. Sometimes it's difficult to understand all the allegories, but if you're someone who's in the study, in the process, it's sometimes difficult, like in Sarpil's question as well. Well, vessels of bestowal I'm getting, so that looks like a reward. Okay. So what's the difference? Well, your reward is giving everything, and in your desire to receive, that doesn't really make sense. This is why people go through all the ups and downs. I'm going to work, 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 and work for everybody else and never get paid. And I'm going to be really happy with that situation. Imagine saying that to somebody in this world. Right? Yeah. But that's the reward. In other words, the reward is being above reason, above my desire to receive. So what is the reward? The reward is actually freedom. Freedom from the will to receive. That's always making me run around after silly things in life until my dying day. So freedom is a reward. But to understand that, we need to be advancing on the path. This is why I said a person who goes and studies for a long time should afterwards stabilize. And he should just think, I only want to bestow, and that's it. It should start to resonate with that person. It should start to settle in. And then your ups and downs, they're not going to be so irregular. They're not going to be chaotic. Okay. and they're not going to run havoc in you. So over a long period of time, as we study, we'll see that the only bad thing is the desire to receive for myself, and I just want to bestow. Now, remember, when we're in that state, we still don't know what bestowal is. We don't know what bestowal is. So how can I want bestowal if I have no idea about bestowal and completely put aside the desire to receive for myself? How do you think that's going to happen? Emptiness, suffering. Okay, we're going to understand that living in my desire to receive for myself is the most emptiest way to live ever. Okay, why do you think humanity is going through loneliness right now? Even if you got a partner, it's very common for people to feel alone. You know, you could be married, you could have a partner, you could still feel really, really lonely. All right? Why does that happen? Because we're not in vessels of bestowal, in vessels of reception. So even in that state, I'm feeling darkness, and this is why loneliness is a big sickness in the world, right? So in order to get out of this darkness, we need a mutual bestowal, mutual love where we can connect, and then that will be the light. So as you can see, the world and the article is very much hand in hand, right? It reflects to our corporeal lives as well. So we should understand that the light that we should all be aspiring for is existing only in love of others and in mutual bestowal. This is why when people get a taste of mutual love, they're all of a sudden on cloud nine, right? Everybody's happy, everybody's in a bliss. You know, it's like I don't know, it's like this romantic dream come true, okay? Until we fall back into the desire to receive again. So we have to understand the same kind of procedure is towards the Creator as well. One should come to want to bestow and only to want to bestow because one begins to understand that living in the desire to receive is just not worth it. Not worth it at all. All right, and this is also why we have depression, increasing suicide rates, increasing divorces, kind of stuff. Everything is falling apart because of this reason. And dark and day, light and night, or light and darkness, or day and night are the same thing for a person's spirituality. And as we cross all those inner discernments, then we can say, you know what, I just want to bestow and I don't care what will happen because it can't get any worse. Okay. Same for humanity as well. When do we make a move? When do we have a revolution? When we can no longer tolerate the suffering of the current situation. So then you go and do some revolution and you got no idea what's going to happen, but you do it anyway. Okay, look how the Bolsheviks ended up. Great suffering. Let's do a communist revolution. Well, what's going to happen? Well, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're all supposed to love each other if we do this revolution. Okay. And then you see 70, 80 years of just suffering and pain. Because why they do that? Because they're at a state where they can't tolerate the state they're in anymore. Same here. You're in a desire to receive for yourself and you just can't tolerate it anymore. So you're happy to want bestowal and you got no idea what it is, but you want it now. How can you discern anything about bestowal? Well, if you see your desire to receive is doing all the harm to you, then you can at least contemplate on what can be better. It's the same kind of thing they did. They contemplated on what could be better. Why'd they fail? Because no creator, no success. This is why success can only happen if the creator is in the game. All right? Smay is asking, if we do not yet have the vessel to bestow, then the changes in our perception and perspective, if they are not light, what are they? If you don't have the vessels of bestowal, you're in darkness. So you're either going to be a rooster or a bat. Okay, so then within the study, you have to ask yourself, well, am I studying like a rooster? Am I anticipating the vessels of bestowal? Or am I studying like a bat? Am I expecting a reward from the Creator? Then Sarah is asking, if we cannot draw the light, then until we acquire spirituality in all the states that the Creator takes us through, what exactly are we drawing instead of the Creator's light? Why aren't we drawing? What do you mean? We are drawing the Creator's light. Look, we're studying now, right? We're studying now, and we're learning what we need to become. What is the goal for a human being? See, it writes here in a few places. What does it say? Where does it say adhesion? Okay. Here we are. Here we go. Look. Mm. The, seem to find it. Here, the matter of the whale refers to dvekwut and connection. This means that the purpose, which is the connection of the creator with the creatures, is only a game. It's not a matter of a desire and a need. Well, that's from the side of the creator. So the important thing to understand here is that our purpose in life is to reach connection with the creator. Okay? So as we are studying, we begin to discover what is the obstacle to that connection with the creator. Isn't that light? That's light, actually. Okay. Because I know, look, knowing the obstacle is the same as knowing exactly what to do to attain something. Okay. So the study allows us to discover what is causing the separation between us and the Creator. That's already light. We're enlightened. If somebody didn't tell us about all these things, about the purpose of life, the meaning of life, what we're supposed to do with our lives, imagine how we would be living still. Just like animals. You're born, you live, you die. End of story. Okay? So the study, whenever we're studying, we're drawing the light. We're drawing more understanding, more feelings, more discernments. All of that is light. Okay. Are we working entirely in the condition of the master's night? We are discovering, we're we're in darkness. Okay. Discovering that we are in darkness in this world, right? What does that mean? It means I can't get any pleasure out of this life. Okay. That's me discovering darkness. This is why the young generation, the new generation, they're always in a bit of a drama because they don't know where to get real happiness and joy from. It's just not there. That's darkness. Okay, so the whole of humanity is in darkness. But knowing we're in darkness is also light. Do you understand what I mean? I have a dark room. I don't see it's dirty until I turn on the light. Right? So then I see we're in a bad situation. It's the same thing. In world, in our corporeal life, people's, Sarah is asking again, in our corporeal life, people's will to receive for themselves and their egoistic behaviors feel like a huge wound inside me when I respond to them in the same way. The creative forces it into my sight and I cannot endure it. What kind of a prayer should I raise to overcome this? Whenever you see something in you that's, let's say, bad and hurts others, you can pray to change that. Praying to be good after I reveal the bad trait is a good thing. Because by doing so, by correcting yourself, you're actually helping everybody else in the world as well. Emma is asking, if a person already sees that they are miserable because of their will to receive for themselves and their ego, and if they feel nauseated by themselves, why does this not make us feel that it is leading us somewhere? Because the desire isn't mature enough yet. Hmm? You have to check, why are you feeling miserable? Because miserable in spirituality means I am disconnected from the Creator. Miserable doesn't mean I've got a bad life. Miserable doesn't mean I'm poor, hungry, homeless. That's not miserable in spirituality. Hmm? Miserable is I am disconnected from the Creator. My life is meaningless. There's no purpose, meaning. That's misery. You have to measure things according to the purpose of life, not according to what you feel like in corporeality. Ozan's asking, according to the phrase in the article, woe to you who desire the day of the Lord, it's darkness and not light. Does even desiring the day of the Lord endanger the work? If this desire itself leads to arrogance, what's the inner deficiency that causes it? The desire to receive for yourself, if it wants things for personal benefit, then that is called the bat. So the rooster is asking, listen, the rooster is telling the bat, what do you need the light for? You're doing it for your desire to receive. You're never going to get it. Okay, that's why it's asking, why do you need to wait for the light? You're never going to get it like this. In fact, to bestow, like I said before, to bestow for our vessels of reception for ourselves is like death. Who wants to do it? And maybe just Serpil wants to do it. Nobody else. Huh? It's death. So we have to understand a person has to overcome a lot of things, really. Overcome many, many, many obstacles and ups and downs until they finally say, forget it. I just want to bestow. And that's it. I'm flat out. It comes through a lot of experience, a lot of ups and downs, like I said, but it takes time as well. You'll get there. You keep studying with us for 20 years, you'll get there. Smeya is asking, is the light that we receive into the vessel to bestow different from the light that we draw from the lesson? The light we draw from the lesson allows us to discover the evil in us. Okay? This is why the study is bringing us all kinds of things that we see about ourselves. Okay, like Sarai complained right now, right? I see things and I feel like, wow, it's all like bad in me. It's the light, we're getting light. Okay, but from the other end. Okay, so it's revealing to us that we are not healthy. We need to take some treatment. And that's also light. And if we, by going through all these things, begin to understand what needs to change really inside of us, then it accumulates into a prayer because the light in the lessons, the light that we draw, brings us slowly and slowly through emotions and through understanding that there's only one thing that can help us, and that's an outside force that can change us. Right, yeah. I do believe that's all the questions, right? We've answered everything. Right. How are we all doing then? Did everybody have a good Congress? Yeah, we've got another one coming up in February, May, October. Looks like it's going to be a party year in 2026. Hmm? Yeah, partying all the way to Gimartikun. Okay, sounds good to me. So let's focus in our tens on the study, as the Rav is always guiding us as well. But the more we study together as tens, we're going to build strength, and we shouldn't let darkness scare us or make us feel uneasy, because if we don't have darkness, we can't see the problem, right? So identifying the problem is 50% of the solution. So this is why a rooster and a bat, sometimes we're a bat, sometimes we're a rooster. It's going back and back and forth until we really want to come to the vessels of bestowal. Then we'll be like a rooster, waiting for the light for the right purpose. Okay, anticipating for the right purpose. Until then, those things are always inside of us, one or the other. And then once we attain the vessels of bestowal, then it's going to be crystal clear. All the levels afterwards will be based on an experience which you can build on. Okay, so the most difficult is the first degree in spirituality. That's the most difficult thing. It's like being born. The most difficult thing is to give birth to the baby. Yeah, that's the time when you're like, okay, somebody kill me now, okay, because it's painful, right? But afterwards, what happens? The baby just grows. And then you're thinking, what? How fast do they grow? All of a sudden they're like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. They're all married with kids, and you're a granddad or mum all of a sudden, right? And that's just how it is. So the most important and the difficult part is that first degree. It's really kind of like, requires a lot of work, keen work. But once it's done, it's like, okay, now you have a foundation and it just flows. So we'll be all right afterwards. Mahir is asking, since we're in darkness, how should we praise the Creator? Well, for one thing, you're awake now. Yeah, so that's one good reason. Yeah, exactly. You could be like everybody else, not knowing what to do with your life, completely like disconnected from a purpose, right? And running around. And look at the world. Look at what they're running after. Okay? It's just like a bunch of people in their 60s and 70s acting like a bunch of kindergarten children. Really? If you look at the mess they're making, it's like children playing in a sand pit. And thus henceforth, we have a mess. So, by actually awakening the dot in the heart, having a new perspective on life, having a purpose in life, and a purpose that actually makes sense. Okay, because we can look at those grown-ups playing in the sand pit like retarded people, really seriously. Okay, and we can say, well, we got something to be thankful about because we're growing up normally. All right, a lot of people do not get the opportunity to wake up to life. So you need to value it. Right, it's 8:50. All right, I'm going to love you and leave you. And hopefully we're going to see you guys next time. And we'll have a chat on the next Shamati article. Have a good night.